Hello, Vijay and Ravinaka. Yes, to date, there's been 9 provinces that we've covered. That's including district advisory councillors for every province. We've also done a couple of tertiary institutions. The USP and FNU comes to mind. And also there's been individual and other stakeholder consultations that's been done. I think approximately speaking, I think there's been some 40 consultations that has been formally done over the past 1 month or so. So we're targeting at least to do about 100 or more, consultations with various groups and stakeholders, including our diaspora overseas. We also are online with our questionnaires. So there's a lot of feedback that we're getting the last month or so, and our target date is the 31st of July, which is the date that we will hand in our report. So we're pretty confident that we will, solicit a wide range of views as to the whole, exercise, the review and the re-establishment of the GCC. Yes, I think, Vijay, with a very important, work that is needed, for such an important institution as the GCC, there's been a lot of controversy over, the past, meddling in politics and that sort. We would like to see that, we do a thorough job. And so we envisage perhaps a couple more weeks or even a month would suffice to us, for us to do a really good job. Because we started late. We started on the 19th of April instead of the 1st of April as per the contract. So we're hoping to see a bit of extension to solicit as far-ranging and wide consultation with the people of Fiji.
Well, I think that is the sort of the main or general crux of it all, to establish an institution that will form a pathway to bring socio-economic development and improvement to the lives of the iTaukeis. And I think it's important that an institution that is set up, it's robust and be able to withstand the test of time, especially with climate change, the economic global downturn that's sort of currently hitting the world right now. Things like COVID-19. I think it's important that a framework is set up to be able to withstand and also produce improvements and lift the lives of not only the iTaukeis, but the general populace at large.
Yeah, Vijay, I think if you look back in the recent past, the GCC has had a checkered past. It has delved into politics, and it hasn't, redeemed itself. And the very reason for it being disestablished is because of the former government's perception, I suppose, that it was heavily politicized. And so it was suspended, then it was disestablished. We need to actually take a good look at what were the reasons, what were the real reasons of its disestablishment. Was it just 1 or 2 persons against the GCC, or was it a groupthink of the former government? We need to really drill down and get to the bottom of why it was disestablished, and then make good, the mistakes perhaps of the past, so that it comes back with a newly revamped establishment and institution that everyone, is proud to look up to. So I think it really is our responsibility as a team to really ask the hard questions. One theme that is coming out is that the people are saying that we really like our chiefs to remain customary chiefs rather than going to the political field. And there are some chiefs at the moment who are part of the GCC. You can say they've had their fingers burnt. They are not seen in the good light, of people's perception of them. And so what do we do with them? So we have to try and incorporate into this new GCC the wishes of the people to see that the GCC is apolitical. I mean, you and I know it's very hard to do that because everything we do every day is political, from waking up in the morning and choosing what shirt you wear to having breakfast. That is a political decision. Politics permeates every part of our lives. So what aspect do we see the GCC being apolitical? In other words, we politics-proof the institution. It's quite a difficult job, but I think we need to actually go down that lane, I suppose. Yeah.
Of course, this initial one where discussions will take place, government has to play a part in this because it is being revived. Hence, the Minister for iTaukei Affairs is chairing the meeting. But it's interesting that the team is also making recommendations, Ratu Timur.
Well, I think the main reason for calling the meeting at this point in time is really, it's been 16 years since it was disestablished. And I think this is mainly really, it's calling the chiefs together to just establish a relationship that has not been sort of the coming together, just to establish a relationship and a bond between the chiefs. And I think this meeting is really to lay the platform to begin this relationship again, and then build from there. And I think there's some issues that they're going to discuss tomorrow. I think we're not sure what it is, but for us it's really bringing them together and then establishing that relationship, and then to be able to create a pathway to move forward. But having said that, our role as the team is to provide recommendations for again, according to the terms of reference, there's a word, the revamped GCC. So what does the word revamp mean? It's really bringing about changes that will be beneficial to the iTaukeis as well as other races. So that's where we come in to provide recommendations to establish a forum that is going to bring meaning and relevance to the Great Council of Chiefs.
Yeah, well, firstly, I'd like to actually say that, in every society, there's an infusion of different various traditions and cultures. If you look at the English society, it's very much, it goes back to the Roman and the Greeks. Fijian society is an infusion of Tongan Samoan culture. No society stands alone in a vacuum. And so has it been in the Pacific. So the coming of the British, British rule and colonialism, we iTaukeis have actually assimilated a lot of that culture, that traditions, and we have made it our own. And so does every culture the world over. Culture doesn't actually survive in a vacuum. So the GCC, yes, it is an introduced institution, but over the years, indigenous iTaukeis have made that part and parcel of our culture and our tradition, to look up to the GCC as the head of our society. That is very strong in iTaukei groupthink at the moment. As far as trying to revamp that, We are now caught in a conundrum where you have development and you have those who want to hang on to tradition or the identity. So there's this conundrum, there's this enigma, puzzle. How do you actually unlock trying to move forward and still grab hold to things that we treasure, identity, our traditions? And it happens in every society all over the world. This is the conundrum. How we actually, position the GCC into the future as part of these terms of reference, that is a big question, and that is what we are asking people to submit their views as to what they see the GCC should look like into the future.
Well, I guess it goes back to when the late Jairam Reddy, when he addressed the Great Council of Chiefs, I think in 1997, when he told the chiefs, that you are not only the chiefs of the iTaukeis, you are also our chiefs. And part of this, the revamped GCC is really to become inclusive rather than exclusive. See, we during our public consultations, we also spoke to the special advisory groups, and they, each individual who was represented there, they represent about over 200 families, Indo-Fijians, and the general consensus from them is, they want it to be reestablished, because they know that with the GCC, with this forum being reestablished, they feel sort of more secure. Because I think, in the past, when there's upheavals that we had in 2087, the GCC was brought in to try and provide that sort of to be a mediator, or to bring the people together again and bring stability to the nation. So, based on that, it's really sort of sending a message out that this forum is really a forum that will look and cater at the needs of all other ethnicities apart from the iTaukeis.
Well, again, Vijay, I think I've expressed my sentiments, or the sentiments of the people coming through. On one side of the spectrum, the political spectrum, I suppose you have the traditionalists who'd like to see it very exclusive, just only for our chiefs. Then you have those that are liberal, modernists, who'd like to see some changes, and it incorporates the vast array of people that is reflected in society today. So what do we do as a review team? All we can do is to put up to government and say, see, this section of the society is saying this section of society is saying this. We recommend perhaps a mix of the two. I mean, I'm not preempting what we will put on the report, but, we will have to, in the next couple of months, come up with hard decisions and put up our recommendations as a discussion amongst the team as to the way forward. I cannot say that, I'd say we should have 50-50. No, I'm just a consultant. I actually listen to the people, and based on the people's recommendations, then we will come up with our recommendations. And at the moment, it's sounding like that. We are listening to the whole full spectrum of ideas, of views, of people that say that we want it, X representation, we want, or others who are saying, no, we'd like to see it as it is. Those are the hard questions that or the ideas that are coming through that we need to actually grapple with in our committee in the coming months.
Absolutely. As you said, 75% of iTaukeis live in poverty. The total population of Fiji is about 900 plus thousand. And, out of that, the iTaukeis make up 60%, which is about 500 plus. And out of that 500 plus, you got 75% of that live in poverty. That's nearly almost 400. You know, the iTaukeis own 90% of the land, but there's nothing to show for. But I think, and that's why I think it is important that, you know, this problem or socio-economic problem is addressed accordingly to ensure relevance and meaning to the institution that is being revamped here. And you know, I just may reiterate here what our team leader is saying. You know, this is the voice of the people of the 9 provinces that we've visited. It's not our voice. We're just here to listen and to make recommendations accordingly.
Definitely, Vijay, we have 2 experts on our team that look at data very closely, Dr. Api and Dr. Evi Balarua. Very much part of our TR to do literature research, reviews, also. What has been written about Taukeis in the recent past, contemporary writings. I mean, the latest being, of course, the National Economic Summit, where I think Resolution 9 speaks about empowering Taukeis in business, in the commercial world. You and I know we don't have to, just look around us in all the cities, in all the towns, the lack of Taukei empowerment of businesses. You go from Suva to Raki, we've been all over Vitilevu. They're all just, this disparity of Taukeis in business, in all aspects of commercial life. Why is it that we are so slow? If you go back into the records of the GCC, which we've been doing, chiefs have been always calling for the better welfare of the Taukeis. And they've always been actually reminding the political masters, or at least the colonial masters, that this is one aspect that needs to be looked at. And it just seems that it has fallen by the wayside in the last 3-4 decades since independence, that we've regressed as society, the Taukeis. And our Taukei leaders must have a good long look at themselves. Starting from the GCC as the apex of the Taukei social order, we need to look at the GCC as a leader in actually innovation, in actually steering a path forward for the Taukeis in this very, I say, controversial subject of the lack of development, the lack of empowerment of Taukeis in the economic sector of Fiji.
Well, obviously there's definitely a lot of hyperactivity that's happening on the island, as from, I think, from yesterday. But I think building up to that, the improvements and to the infrastructure happened about a month ago. I think once it was confirmed that Mba was going to host, but I think the delegates themselves, are really looking forward to coming together, and I think to sharing their views and opinions of, after 16 long years. So I think they've come prepared, and hopefully we're looking forward to some really interesting discussions. And I think it'll be interesting to listen to the views of the chiefs with regards to the revamped GCC, and that's one of the reasons why we're going in there tomorrow, also to present our findings to date, but also to hear from them their respective views and opinions of where do we want to take this forum to, and how. This is where we want to go, this is where we are, how are we going to get there?
Yes, I think, Vijay, this is a very sensitive issue. First of all, the GCC is a political entity right from the very start. Let's not kid ourselves. It was set up by our political masters, and they actually delved into politics very much, all our chiefs. So this is the conundrum. This is the enigma, the puzzle. How do we actually depoliticize an organization that was initially set up to be political in the running of the country? So that is the first question we are actually trying to grapple with at the moment. How much politics do we, let into this institution? Every institution on earth have politics in it. Every family have politics. So how do you actually, I say politics proof the GCC? You can never. All right? Let's get that one thing right. It was set up as a political entity in the first place. So having said that, in the recent past, it has gone into, politics. Hence its disestablishment. Perhaps we need to look at that, the makeup, the representatives. Perhaps all delegates that go into the GCC, if you want to actually be a member of the GCC, that you may have, if you have delved into politics, have what is called a stand-down period, maybe 5 years, before you're eligible to go to the GCC. That sort of thing. So we have mechanisms that try and actually say minimize the political involvement of people. That is one that we are looking at the moment. But as to this ethno-nationalist, creature that also always creeps up when you talk about the GCC, people, identity politics is here to stay. You have now what is called the United Nations Declaration of the Indigenous Rights. That declaration specifically states that every indigenous group have the right to their indigenous institutions. And there's 46 other articles. Countries like New Zealand, Australia, Canada, the US, they've all ratified the Declaration for Indigenous People. So with this declaration, I think with good transparency, good governance issues, I think you can marry the two with the GCC at the moment without bringing ethno-nationalism. What we want is civic nationalism, where everyone is inclusive. And I think it's much understood by indigenous people today, iTaukei, that without us being inclusive, we don't have a future. The future is in being inclusive.